Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I have the gorgeous Ella Mills with me. We are in Ella's kitchen and we're going to have a good chat about all things plant-based, pregnancy now, because of course, how is your pregnancy going, Ella?
Fascinating, honestly. Well, first of all, hello. But second of all, yeah, it's fascinating. I am like completely and utterly in awe and fascinated, and like I can't stop talking about it. And I said to Matt, like, "Can you see it? Can you see the bump? Has it grown since yesterday?" And he's like, "Yes, Ella." Because I can't quite believe what my body's doing. The first 12 weeks were hard, emotionally, physically. I hadn't really given it any thought prior to getting pregnant, and I felt so grateful and lucky to be pregnant, and you know, to touch wood. So far, I've got through that first trimester. Yeah. But it's lonely actually, because you feel this kind of real anxiety of wanting it to all go well, but fear of all the possible things that could happen. So there was a kind of real anxiety there, but also you kind of won't let yourself fully attach to the excitement because you're aware of the reality of how things can go. But then at the same time you feel, I felt so ill. I went to bed for about a month, and I remember you saying, because you're teaching your yoga as well throughout, so you hadn't really changed your lifestyle to it. You didn't think you'd need to. No, exactly. And so then over the kind of last few weeks of December, like around Christmas, I literally just went to bed, and I was so tired I literally couldn't move. I couldn't move muscle without being sort of retching. And it was extraordinary. Hated broccoli. Broccoli made me gag.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So you mentioned that you couldn't really you didn't even want vegetables, which is odd because you are vegetable queen.
Yeah, no, I literally no flavour. Like as bland as bland could come, which is really hard, by the way, doing you know what we do, because obviously like giving people ideas and inspiration. And I was actually really grateful it was Christmas, where people aren't so engaged with what we do anyway. But I was like, what do I put on my stories? I'm eating porridge for the 27th meal in a row, and no toppings, no flavours, like literally oat. Oat, bread, potato, like chips and kind of crisps, like those lentil chips,
all the
and
carbs,
things like that.
all the carbs,
and all the plain carbs, and artichokes. I was obsessed with artichokes. I think it's the tanginess. You know, people say they like pickles and things like that.
That's true.
So and then lemon. Yes. So there was one day like all I wanted was lemony chips.
Amazing.
So I delivered chips and then just like drenched them in lemon, and that was like looks so gross. And I was like, I know,
but it's what I want
all
right
I can think about swallowing.
Yeah, of course.
And then one day I felt a bit guilty about the fact that I couldn't eat vegetables, so I tried to make myself a plain soup, and it was just like a broccoli pea kind of situation. And I just couldn't do it. So I think it was a good lesson in completely listening to your body and being okay with wherever you are. But since 12 weeks, it's got a bit better. I feel a bit more normal now.
It's such a fascinating area, because I think with pregnancy, there's so much that you try and do perfectly, or there's a lot that you've obviously read up on or you learn, but actually your body goes right back to basics, and you can only do what you can do.
Totally, and you've got to be really accepting of that.
So, what about cravings and things that a lot of people talk about when they do experience the first few weeks, let's say, of pregnancy, or even actually throughout the entire thing? Like my mum, for instance, just ate chocolate constantly. Is there anything?
So I think it's just like I feel so specific about what I want.
There
are things I don't like my favourite food is kind of Indian food, like really rich spices, and that me too, that kind of warm, hate it.
Oh my goodness, no way.
Hate it. Matt was eating Indian at the weekend, and I was like, so gross, so smelly, and normally it would be my heaven,
because you make the most amazing dals and you
curries, and that's my best food. Hate it, curry.
No way. And is there anything that you never ate before that now you're going towards?
Not really, but there's much less variety and diversity, I guess, because you're not using those flavors. So everything tastes a bit more the same, because you're not adding like paprika or turmeric or cumin or chili, or those things that kind of lift it and give it that kind of amazing nature. So not so much of that, but in terms of cravings, I think it's really normal, but just really want like simple carby meals, like potato, everything.
Mashed potato you mentioned to me before. When we were on the tube, I remember you were saying, mashed potato on everything.
I don't like mashed potato. Just because like I don't really like anything with one texture. So I love roast potatoes. I love leather jacket potato because it's got the outside and then the kind of like sort of fluffier middle.
I love that, the crisp.
Yeah,
you know when you
too.
over bake a potato and you can just peel away the skin.
Heaven.
Yeah.
Whereas I find mashed potato a bit boring. I don't know, some people love it so much, so I apologise. But I find it a bit boring.
Yeah.
Whereas I had this fixation that there were a few nights where like the only thing I could fathom eating for dinner was just a plain bowl of mashed potato. And even I was like kind of talking to myself like, Ella, this is insane. I didn't have potatoes in the house and I was like, well, can't I just make pasta? Because, you know, surely I just want plain carb and make pasta. And I was like, this is horrible. It was so
Which you would
weird.
Normally love.
I love pasta.
Yeah.
But and then other days all I've wanted is pasta. So it's just it's very strange.
Yeah, the
very
taste buds.
Curious. And you just know what you need to eat.
Well, that's just it. So I've done a course recently on pre and postnatal nutrition, and we were looking at how taste buds change throughout pregnancy as well, and how your baby gets a preference for flavours from the amniotic fluid, so around basically the baby. Do you find that you are very aware of, if I haven't eaten this today, I need to be getting my vitamin D, or all those kind of things?
I'm trying not to be, because I think there's so many things to worry about and think about that I worry I will send myself crazy.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, and what I've said is like, obviously I am now trying to eat some vegetables. Because I know that is good. But and like, you know, obviously like keep up your fiber and things like that, especially because your digestion's not brilliant when you're pregnant normally.
It's so much. I think people need to realise that when you have a baby, everything is either pushed down or up.
Totally. And then obviously the relaxin is affecting your internal muscles.
So that's a hormone for everyone. So relaxin is a hormone that is going to, I mean, you might be more flexible than you've ever been before when you're pregnant.
So yes, super flexible, because it's all about opening up the pelvis, but it comes in your whole body, so that can also slow down, I think, your digestive process as well. So keeping up fiber and stuff like that, but otherwise it's like eat what you can eat when you can eat it. And also I find my blood sugar drops a bit more, and I, you know, after like 4 hours I'm like, I really need a snack, and so just making sure that I always do that, and doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes you're here, you're there, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I think letting go of perfect is really important. I read a book on pregnancy nutrition, like in week 2, or right at the beginning, and it actually really scared me, because it was talking about how you've got to do this, and it's absolutely sort of completely and utterly imperative that you do that. And I was like, I can't swallow that right now.
No.
And so actually I feel like you've got to be a bit kind to yourself.
I agree. I think it's really nice you brought that up, because for a lot of people out there, perhaps there are people that are pregnant watching and they've been through it themselves. There's too much pressure to be perfect. You have to do what you can do. And if you are being, let's say, sick every single day, you've got really bad morning sickness and nausea.
Totally.
You're not going to be harming your baby. Just try and get energy in. Let's think more about energy than the exact types of food sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah. And if you've got your supplement, of course, you've got your folic acid, all that kind of stuff, you're fine.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself.
Yeah, good. And when it comes to the term plant-based, we know plant-based on a whole means a reduction of animal produce, which I know you've spoken about in your podcast. It's very important for the environment and for everybody really to be eating more plants. Do you think you'd raise your child in this way? What's your kind of philosophy? I'm sure a lot of people are very curious.
It's such an interesting question. I had a lot of questions on it. So I mean, at home, everything we cook is plant-based.
Exactly.
And that's all I know how to cook.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely...
Which is great.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's definitely what we'll do at home, and obviously ensuring that it's balanced and focused on, making sure you're getting enough things that have calcium, protein and everything. But I think they'll definitely be vegetarian. Yeah. But possibly vegetarian rather than vegan when they're at school and things like that.
Maybe eggs occasionally?
Because it's possibly more plausible for them at school, at friends' houses and things like that.
That's a side people don't think about.
Yeah, I think, I'm not very passionate, as you know, about making a lifestyle that's sustainable, and sustainable means enjoyable, but it also means doable. Yeah. And, I think when you're a child, lots of us, what other people are doing and things like that. Oh my goodness,
what your friends have got in the party bag. You go to parties and you're jealous of what everyone else has in their bag.
Oh my gosh, party bags were literally the best things of all times. I can't wait for stuff like that.
Aww. So Ella, when is your due date?
It's the beginning of August.
Okay, so August.
Yeah, so summer baby.
Amazing. And are you planning on any big trips before you go away? Are there a lot of myths around travelling when you're pregnant that you feel that you've succumbed to or you're conscious of?
I think generally it's just a lot of fear. Some people were like, I can't believe you've done yoga in the first trimester. And I was like, well, it felt really good in my body. I obviously completely adjusted, slowed my practice. I checked with my doctor. My doctor said, if you've been practicing for a long time, keep practicing, you know, just don't get your heart rate up too high, don't get too hot, all the kind of really obvious things. But then some people make it seem like that's a crazy concept, and it's those sorts of things, and people being like, oh my gosh, is it really safe to fly? And it's challenging. And I actually feel really lucky. We went to the doctor at 8 weeks and he was amazing, and he just said to me, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be, and outside you doing things that are kind of arguably not that sensible when pregnant, like running a marathon or like going on a heroin bender or like jumping out of plane,
obviously,
you know, things that like are extreme for the body. Put that to one side. If you continue to live your normal life as you've lived it for however long, then what will be will be. And I really liked. He was like, you could sit in bed wrapped in cotton wool, and if something was going to happen, almost certainly it would still happen.
But it must be so hard, because I feel that you're somebody in the public eye to a degree. You've got your social media platforms and also your YouTube channels. There must be a level of people obviously constantly thinking they know you or making judgments. I know another friend of mine was pregnant who is a YouTuber, and she said that every day she'd have people messaging her saying, you shouldn't be doing this to your baby when you're pregnant, or you shouldn't be working out like this. How do you deal with that side of social media? Everyone has an opinion.
It's a great question, and it's interesting. And even last night I was reading this book, which is amazing, by the way.
What book?
So it's written by a midwife in the US called Ina May, I-N-A. She's written 2.
I'll check this out.
And anyway, but she's amazing, and it's so empowering. It's all about basically, I'm so sorry about the drill.
Yeah, we've got roadworks, haven't we?
Drilling next door.
That's fine.
It's the most empowering book about it's a birth story, isn't it? Basically about the female body and how we are built to do this, and it's so empowering. And someone was like, well, you know, don't get too optimistic because I had this and I had that, and I just thought, do you know what? Like,
you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it.
Exactly. I'm like, here I am trying to remove the fear. And like create a positive view towards this. And so things like that I just find can be a bit frustrating. But at the same time, like I always say this ending, I think you have to divide any kind of criticism or negativity into 2 columns. Like you've got constructive criticism, which is really important actually, even though sometimes it's not always delivered in the nicest possible way, or it's not exactly what you want to hear. It is still genuinely useful, because what you're trying to do, you know, I know for me and I know for you, you're trying to be an interesting and helpful and useful resource for people who are looking to enhance
their lives
in some capacity. And so you want to do that in the best possible way for them.
Yeah, of course.
And so actually ensuring that what you're delivering is, you know, working for them is really important. But then you have criticism for the sake of criticism's sake, which is, you know, you're rubbish, you're ugly, you're this, you're that, you're the next thing, or, you know, and actually at some point, like, you've just got to say, okay, you know, that's your opinion, I don't need to engage in it.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very useful way of looking at it. Because like you said, we're all subject to criticism to some degree.
Exactly.
But it's how we internalise it.
Totally. And constructive criticism is one of the best ways to grow.
Yeah, as a business.
And as a person. You know, there's always more that we can be doing, growing, learning. And it's great to have inspiration and direction of travel for that. But at the same time, you don't need the stuff you can't change. Someone was like, you've got the most annoying voice of anyone I've ever heard. And I was like, well, there we go.
I've had that one before.
Exactly. Like, what are you going to do? Go to voice training?
No. But in terms of, you're a businesswoman, ultimately, and a creative. We know that you're very, very creative with your recipe development. What are your top 3 tips that you could give anybody in terms of, I'd say, being pregnant and having a business to run at the same time? How would you, I know, is there any advice you could give people?
I think I need that advice, to be honest. I mean, I think generally, and I think this applies in running anything at any time in your life, I think trying to be as fluid as possible is the key thing. And, you know, people always say, it's like one of the main questions I get, it's like, what's your work-life balance? How do you divide that? And I always say, like, I don't really have one. Not because I don't ever take any time off. I mean, but I think you have to be super open. You know, you don't know what's going to come up when, what's going to need dealing with when, and I think you've got to be kind of quite go with the flow about it, and you can't be rigid and I've got to take this and I've got to take that minute off and I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
Flexible.
Because as soon as you do that, it becomes so much more stressful than it ever was
that
before.
You can break, which will be broken.
Exactly, and you therefore feel like, no, well, I'm not meant to be doing this then, so now it's much more stressful. So I think being open and fluid in your approach approach and kind of just trying to be easygoing with what comes up when it comes up is really important.
Yeah.
And I feel like that will be increasingly important, obviously, as I'm juggling more things.
Are you going to continue working forwards right up until the due date? Are you going to stop and have a maternity?
So I don't. Well,
who knows?
We'll be open and fluid about it. No, I don't know. I honestly, it will be. We'll have to see.
Okay.
I think like we work a lot.
Yeah.
It's like a real 7 days a week at the moment. And I think I will try and slow down on that a little bit. Leading up to it.
Just got to go with the flow, I suppose.
Exactly. But also I think, you know, a lot of what I do is like running up to a meeting in Manchester and Nottingham and here and there and the next thing, and then getting back and filming this and doing that. And so I think, you know, possibly just taking one thing out every day for me would completely transform, and just having a bit more time at my computer and think just a kind of slightly calmer way of working, and a few less events and things like that.
That's a good tip. So take one thing out that perhaps could be done another time, where you don't need to have. I'm sure we all have those.
Exactly. Like we don't need to do an event for the next 6 months. You know, we're doing it for the next few months, but after that, we don't need to do it.
No. Okay.
So we'll pause on something like that, for example, which is for me is just one thing off the plate.
Yeah.
Whereas I need to keep writing our next book. I need to keep doing this. I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's looking at it like that.
So Ella, in terms of what's next and what you've got coming up, I guess it's hard to know once you've had the baby what's going to happen, but are there any big projects? Because you've got the new nut butter balls.
Yeah, so we launched our nut butter balls. We're launching a brand new app any day now.
Oh gosh.
Which is super exciting.
Fab.
And then so that will have 400 plant-based recipes as meal planners, shopping lists.
400.
Yes.
Is this collated from all the things you've been working on?
No, pretty much
to the
all
books?
new. Yeah,
wow,
separate to the books. And then meal planner, shopping list. It's got 40 yoga videos. It's got like, I can't remember how many, but
can't wait to do your yoga videos.
At home.
Yes.
Tons of recipe videos, and then we'll update it each week with new recipes, new videos, new articles, content. So that's really exciting. And then I've just started working on our next book as well. But that's a 2020 project.
Yeah, so and that's with Yellow Kite, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because we share the same publishers.
Exactly. Yeah. Heaven.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple of those are the kind of key projects for now.
Fabulous. Well, Ella, thank you so much for sharing your kitchen and your working environment with us, and we wish you all the best of luck with your pregnancy.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this video, please do hit subscribe, drop a comment below, and I hope that you found what Ella's had to share today and her experiences informative. I know that it's a bit of a hard world out there, especially for entrepreneurs and businesswomen in general, so we've got to keep on going, and please do share your feedback.